Hello. Hello, Andrew.
Can we do a quick interview?
Yes, of course.
Um,
This is about what? And
just stand there.
yeah. This is for what?
We're making a film about prison reform.
Right.
And the emphasis of the film is going to be how things can improve in prison with regard to education and that sort of thing. That's going to be the whole emphasis. We've done various things already.
Okay.
And I heard you on the radio saying you were obsessional about prison reform, so I thought I'd like to talk to you.
Yes, very good.
And you've agreed to talk to us. So thank you
No,
very
I'm
much
delighted
for
to. Just being reminded what it's about, that's all.
Could I ask you, first of all...
Do I talk to you like this? Or do I talk, how do you...
Could I ask you first of all just to introduce yourself and say that you're the leader of the Liberal Democrats?
Yes, my name is Nick Clegg and I am the MP for Sheffield Hallam and the leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Would you like to say something about your visit to Springfield Prison this afternoon?
To Chelmsford Prison?
Chelmsford Prison.
Yes, I mean I visit numerous prisons. This is a Category B local prison, having to deal with large numbers of young men, particularly those between the ages of 18 and 21 on short-term prison sentences. And I was keen to come here because I think that's one of the great problems in the prison system at the moment, is we have too many young men in prison just for a few weeks. It's very difficult to get them away from a life of crime if they're just in and out for a few weeks, as they are in this. I mean, this prison takes in 30 prisoners and sees 30 prisoners come out every day.
Did you talk to a lot of prisoners?
I talked to a few, yes.
And the prison officers?
And to the prison officers, yes.
And what conclusions did you draw from this prison? How does it compare with the other prisons you've been inside?
Well, each prison, of course, is different. This, as I say, is a local prison, whose duty it is to take in offenders from the local courts. It's quite different to open prisons or Category A prisons. But I think it has the problems that so many prisons have, which is too many people in cramped old quarters. There's a Victorian wing there. This is where they filmed the series Porridge. Yeah. The old Victorian wings are still there. They're not, in my view, in the long run fit for purpose, and far too many offenders coming in on short-term prison sentences. And I think we have to, in this country, get over this idea that somehow we are helping society or helping offenders or helping to bring down crime by chucking people in, young men, into prison for a few weeks. In fact, what happens is they sit there, twiddle their thumbs. I spoke to one 18-year-old offender today who says he's been in prison now 5 times, and only now has he decided that he wants to develop the skills, learn the skills to actually come out of prison and stop offending again. But we shouldn't have to waste our money, his time, sending him in out of prison 5 times before he decides he wants to go straight.
What I'd like to ask you is, initially, what made you so interested and passionate about prison reform?
There's no particular moment. My view is we will look back in 50 years' time and say that what we're doing now is crazy. We are following an American model of mass incarceration. We imprison more people per head of population than any other European country, and yet we have higher rates of violent crime and higher rates of fear of crime than anywhere else. And it just seemed to me very obvious at a fairly young age that something's not working. Something's not working if we constantly talk tough, constantly pass new criminal justice legislation, say we're going to build new prisons without getting to the heart of the problem, which is that there are far too many young people, and particularly young men, who end up going in and out of the prison system like a yo-yo, and it's very damaging to society.
Yes, but what sparked your interest initially?
Well, you asked me. I can't remember. There was no great epiphany. I didn't wake up. I didn't wake up one day. But I'm acutely aware that in this area of criminal justice, at least, we are following an American model. At a time when I think we should be looking much more intelligently at some of the ways that European countries, I think, handle their prison population more intelligently than we do.
Because you chose the Johnny Cash.
Oh, Johnny Cash. Oh, yeah. No, well, yes. I mean, Johnny Cash is probably my favourite musician, and of course, Folsom Prison Blues is one of my favourite albums and songs. But I don't think it's the music alone that sparked an interest in prison reform.
This is what I'd like to ask you. What would you say to people who say criminals should be punished more?
That it doesn't work. If it worked, I would sign up to that proposition. The problem is simply chucking people into prison in ever larger numbers, building more prisons, simply to see those prisons filled up as soon as you built them, which is the government's. I mean, the government and the Conservatives basically think that we can build our way out of a prison overcrowding crisis. You can't. The only way you can do it is by stopping reoffending. At the moment, young men who are going into this prison for short-term prison sentences, 92% of them are now reoffending within 2 years. That is madness. It's completely madness that we've created prisons which have become universities of crime, factories of crime. So the old-style, Victorian, tough-talking approach to crime is not working. We've got to be much smarter. I think some of the things that my party's been doing, the Liberal Democrats around the country, for instance, saying to young offenders when they first offend, look, you can either go into prison, either end up in the hands of the criminal justice system, or you can face your victims, face members of the community, and face up to what you have done, to the damage you've caused that community, and then make up for that damage visibly by doing community sentences in the community. Of course, that's not appropriate for violent and serious crimes, but for many other crimes, that is the way to actually get people to face up to their responsibilities and to stop committing more crime. Not only do I think that is smarter, it's cheaper, and it lowers crime.
So what do you think about the proposed super prisons?
I think they are the wrong solution to the problem we have at the moment. You cannot build your way out of a prison. It's like building more lanes to the M25. The more prison cells you build, the more they will simply fill up. You've got to look more fundamentally, as I said before, what we can do with particularly young men, boys, when they're first getting into trouble, to make them face up to their own responsibilities outside prison, and to get them back from the brink of a lifetime of reoffending.
And finally, I'd like to ask you, what is the Liberal Democrat policy on crime and punishment?
Well, I think I've spelt it out to you, which is to examine why we're putting so many young men into prison on short-term prison sentences which seem to have no effect. They just come out and reoffend again. To look intelligently of getting offenders to face up to their responsibilities, to explain themselves to their victims, explain themselves to members of the community, so that they actually stop reoffending before it's too late. Crucially, look at the very high number of people we have in the prison estate who have very serious mental health problems, who shouldn't be in standard prisons like this, where they are not properly dealt with. They should be, yes, taken off the streets, but put into secure mental health treatment facilities so that some of their mental health problems can be dealt with at the same time. We need to do something about drugs. We've got far too many drugs in the prison system and far too few secure drug treatment facilities that can cut the cycle of drug addiction and crime, which is one of the great engines for criminality in this country.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I'm very grateful to you. Thanks a lot.
Very good. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Now, how do you manage
All right then. Thanks very much. Bye.
Right, let's go.
Where's my tick? Yeah. Well, that was Nick Clegg. What a nice man, leader of the Liberal Democrats. He's the leader of the Liberal Democrats, and he has very definite views on prisons and prison reform, and he obviously feels genuinely concerned about the problem.